Okay, this is Kevin Kotz, and I'm interviewing Jeffrey Graber for an oral history project. And the date today is April 26, 2017. Okay, so Jeffrey, I just want to talk to you a little bit about your experience before joining the military. And I wonder if you can tell me where you grew up.
I was born in Carmichael in Sacramento, and my family originally had a house somewhere in that area, and then we moved to nearby Fair Oaks. So yeah, that's where I was for birth until like the end of elementary school. I was living there in Fair Oaks, and it's like a suburb of East Sacramento.
Mm. All right, and where did you go to high school, and what was high school like for you?
I went to Bella Vista High School. It's just in Fair Oaks, like really nearby my parents' house. I didn't really enjoy high school. It was kind of difficult for me because our family had just gotten back from living in a foreign country. We lived in New Zealand for when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And I didn't really know that many people. I didn't really play sports. I didn't really do that much. I got like all right grades, but I just didn't really enjoy it that much. I got into like skateboarding, and I like met some friends through there, so it got a little better after that. But yeah, I wasn't really too thrilled about being there, I guess.
Okay, so you mentioned living in New Zealand for a couple of years. Like, why was your family there?
I don't know. My dad is just kind of like outdoor, like adventure kind of. And he used to like climb, like he's climbed Mount Everest. And he's been to like most of the countries in the world. Like he's been all over. And he just wanted to move us there, I guess, for the experience. It was originally supposed to be for a year, but we ended up staying for 2 years.
Okay.
So.
And do you remember where in New Zealand?
Yeah, it was Christchurch.
Okay.
It's on the South Island.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the biggest city in the South Island.
Okay, great. And then related to your high school, you can even include middle school in this. So did you have like a favorite class or classes that you really liked in high school?
I really wasn't interested in academics much back then, but the only class I can really remember enjoying was my U.S. history class. And I had a very, very good teacher. I think that contributed a lot to it being enjoyable for me. And it was a lot easier for me than things like science or math. I was never that great at those, and I didn't really enjoy them at all. But the history class I did find interesting. I had a world history class that was okay, but I don't think the teacher was as good as the U.S. history one.
Okay, great. So did you work anywhere before joining the military?
Yeah, I had a couple of just like crappy, like minimum wage jobs. Like first job I worked at like a supermarket or something. That was like before I was out of high school. And then I went to college at Sonoma for a while. And I was there for like a year. Then I went back to Sacramento. I went to community college in Sacramento, and I had a job at like some like pizza place there for a while. And I think that was, I might have had like one other job, like at a video store or something.
Okay. Do any of your family members have military experience?
No, I don't think so. Both of my grandparents, or my grandfathers on my mom and my dad's side, they're dead now, but they both served in World War II, like in the Navy, but no, nobody else. I don't come from a military family or something. It was kind of unusual for me to do that because it wasn't the norm in our family.
Okay, and sort of related this, so you didn't have any family members. Did they ever talk about the military or you joining, like before you were actually sort of thinking about it?
I think my dad has always had like a lot of respect for like the U.S. Armed Forces. I can remember when I was in high school. I think I was like a sophomore or a junior in 2003 when there's the invasion of Iraq. George W. Bush took the military into Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom. My dad was like vehemently against it, but once the invasion actually happened, I have this memory of my dad just like, he was just like so thrilled about like how well like the military performed there, because the invasion was really impressive like from a military standpoint, and my dad just seemed like really proud like of our country, that like our military was that strong, even though he was against it politically or ideologically.
All right. Do you think that had any influence on you deciding to join the military or not?
Yeah, I think it may have. Other than my family members, I think it was just something I always wanted to do. Even when I was a young kid, I always thought it would be cool to like, you know, like be in the Army or something. And then when September 11th happened, that really affected me a lot. And I kind of wished I could contribute, you know, to the defense of our country after that, but I was just too young. I was like really, really young. I was like 14. But I don't know. I should have joined after high school, but I wasn't really thinking about it back then. I just was kind of like into skateboarding, and that was it. You know, I don't think I was mature enough or like physically ready for it back then when I got out of high school.
So when did you decide to join the military? Like actively say, I'm going to?
Yeah, it was in the beginning of 2010. I was here at this school because I transferred to this school in 2008. And I was here, I was doing like a business major, and I wasn't really interested in it. I was just really kind of like a disaster back then. I just was like a really bad student, and I was just like really into like partying, and I was just kind of a dirtbag. And I wasn't really interested in what I was doing. And my parents like hated me. I had a really bad relationship with my parents. And I was going nowhere in life, and I was just really depressed, and I just needed a change. I needed to do something different, and it just kind of came to me. It was kind of like an epiphany, like maybe I could actually do this, and I could do something else. And it just seemed exciting to me, you know, back then. Iraq was like over, but the war in Afghanistan was still going on, so I just thought it'd be exciting to like go over there for that.
And so what year did you enlist, and how old were you?
The enlistment process took forever. It started in 2010 and went into 2011. And I ended up leaving for basic training in the summer. I think it was May of 2011. And I was like 24 back then, I think. 23 or 24.
All right. What branch did you enter?
The U.S. Army. I originally was thinking, because I wanted to be infantry, so I was thinking I would either join Army or the Marines. And I actually went into the Marine Corps recruiting office first, and the person I talked to was just like, it was just like a douchebag, basically, like the recruiter. And I just like, I don't know. I gave them my information, and they never called me back. So I ended up going into the Army one, and people there were cool, and I just started moving along with the process with them. And I had a friend that was a Marine before, and he told me, like, don't do it. And he said there's a lot of stupid stuff, like there's a lot of dumb, like, ceremonial stuff with, like, the dress uniform, and I wanted as little as that as possible. I hated that stuff even when I was in the Army. So.
And what was your family response to you joining the military?
I think they were really supportive at first. I think they were taken aback. I don't think they really expected it when I first told them that that's what I was going to do. But I was just in such a bad place like back then, and they just saw me as like such a disappointment that they kind of like welcomed that change. But I think they doubted that I could do it. Most people in my family didn't think I could do it, which actually was like extra motivation to me. And then when it came time for me to leave for basic training, then I think it became real for them. And they started to get a little worried, I think, because there's a possibility of me going to war and going to Afghanistan, because that was my goal. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. And how did your friends react?
They're supportive. I have really good friends. I don't have many friends, but the ones I have are really good. And they supported me the whole way through. I think most of them didn't really doubt that I could do it, which is impressive, because even I was like a little bit doubtful that I could do it. I just wasn't in good physical or mental shape at all for it. So.
All right. And then once you took your oath, like, how did you feel?
Well, you take the oath before you go to basic. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it was that big of a deal for me. I was just really, really worried about making it through basic training, because different branches have different types of basic training. They call it boot camp in the Marines. And the Navy and Air Force ones are easy, I guess, comparatively. And the Army and Marine ones are the hardest. But it's different for the job you have. If you have a certain type of job, you'll go to a different duty station. If you're a support type job, you might go to, I don't know, Fort Jackson or Fort Knox or something. But if you're infantry, all infantry gets sent to Fort Benning, Georgia, and that's the hardest place you can go. It's by far the hardest basic training. And I knew how physically difficult it was because I researched it and I talked to people. So I was really, really afraid of it.
And so once you went to Georgia, right?
Yeah.
And so once you got there, can you just describe a little of the daily routine, and did it change over time for your basic training?
Yeah, first you go there, you get to reception, which is just one of the worst places I've ever been. It's hell. You don't know what's going on. You get no sleep at all. You just get yelled at. You get treated like crap by all these civilians that work for the Army, and you just go from one place to the next doing all this in-processing stuff. You can't even go to the bathroom, really. You don't even have a chance to go to the bathroom or eat that much. You get issued all this gear and do paperwork, and they give you all these immunizations and stupid stuff like that. So I was stuck there for a couple weeks. So I was actually glad to get to the actual basic training. And when it's time, when you're done with all that stuff, they'll take you on a bus and they'll drive you to this other part of Fort Benning. You have all this gear and you're on the bus, and you get there, and it just comes to a stop, and people just charge on the bus, get the F off the bus now. And then it just, from there on, it's just total chaos. That's when you're in the actual basic. And it's just constant physical exercise, to the point of exhaustion. And no sleep. You get woken up most times once or twice a night. You'll get 2 minutes maybe to eat, between 30 seconds and 2 minutes to eat, and just a bunch of insane stuff. And then you'll do some training, and then you'll just they call it getting smoked. It's where you just do just physical exercise. They force you to do it until like the point of exhaustion, and yeah, it's just insane. It's crazy.
Do you have like a most vivid memory of that period, like something that really stands out?
I think like some of my memories are kind of cloudy because you're so sleep deprived. It's really hard to function, and there's no break. There's no time when you can make up the sleep. There's no days off. It's just 7 days a week, constant like harassment. So it's kind of hard to remember, honestly, like for that reason, because as soon as you stop moving, if you sit down, like you'll immediately start falling asleep. But yeah, I have a couple memories. Just funny stuff like the drill sergeants would say, like they'll like make fun of people in like really like cruel ways, but it's also like really hilarious sometimes. They'll say like really funny stuff, or they'll just make you do like really dumb stuff like dig holes for no reason. And I don't know, I was just really afraid of like not making the grade on some of the training or like messing up. But I remember times being proud that I made it through training, like the rifle like qualification. You have like the main weapon that's used by the U.S. Army is called like an M4. I remember when we qualified for that, I did really well on that, so I was happy about that. Yeah, it's cool. You get to use like these explosives, like you'll throw grenades, you'll like blow stuff up, and that part is cool. It's really yeah, some of the weapons is just scary, like how like destructive they are. It's just like those explosions, it's just so loud, and that part is fun, but it's a lot of parts that like aren't fun too. It's a lot of parts that just suck. Being outside, and it's just, you're just sleeping on the ground outside and it's just raining on you. The heat there is just ridiculous in the summer. The humidity is so high. I've seen a lot of people just like collapse from like heat exhaustion. Yeah, a lot of people get injured and a lot of people quit, but I was proud to have made it through in the end, because it's probably one of the only things in my life that I'm actually proud of, because it was so difficult. It was just as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Did you learn any skills during this time?
None that translate to the civilian world. Just, you know, it's infantry stuff, so you just learn like regular, you know, like combat skills that you would use as like an infantry like soldier.
And then once basic training was over, what was your experience after that?
Well, you get assigned like a duty station. You get assigned your unit that you're going to be in for like the regular course of your Army contract. So I found out where I was going. Some people go to crazy places. People go to like Korea or like Germany or all over the U.S. I found out I was going to like Fort Hood, Texas. And I was really excited about that because the biggest unit on Fort Hood is like 1st Cavalry Division. And that unit deploys all the time, so I was like, oh, awesome, I'm going to get deployed. Because that was like my main, like, that was like what I was excited about. That was like my main goal. So I got like a short leave. I was home for like just over a week. And then I went to Fort Hood, and I got to my unit and UN process there. And I found out that our unit just got back from Iraq. It wasn't 1st Cavalry Division. It was this smaller, like way like crappier unit called 3rd Cavalry Regiment. And they'd just gotten back from Iraq, and they weren't scheduled to deploy at all anytime soon. So that was really hard. That was like really, really tough for me to deal with. That was a huge disappointment. But yeah, I was in the unit, and I started meeting people. We got reorganized a bunch of times, so I like worked with different people, and I got to my regular platoon and started making really good friends there and started training. So after that, it got better.
All right. Were you ever deployed?
No, I wasn't. That's that's like the biggest disappointment that I have. And that's the main reason why I'm not really proud of like my military service, because I don't think I really did that much, and I should have been able to go. There's no reason why I shouldn't. I just got so unlucky getting stuck in that unit, and then I couldn't get out. And they told us we were going to go to Afghanistan. We had a deployment to Afghanistan like that was supposed to happen, and we were all training for it, and me and all my friends in my platoon, like, we were all pumped up and like super excited, like, yeah, we're gonna go. And then they told us we weren't going. Like, it basically got canceled, and that was just like so devastating to me. And that was when like I just got super depressed after that, and that was when I just like wanted to get out, because it wasn't really a good time to be in the Army anyways, because they'd already withdrawn most of the troops from, Iraq was over, and they were withdrawing a lot of people from Afghanistan. So it wasn't really a good time to be in to deploy anyways. And as time goes on, there's going to be less and less people deploying, and it's just going to be boring. You're just going to be stuck in garrison. I don't know, some people are okay with that, but like I wasn't. So
Go ahead.
I was actually going to re-enlist, so I could go to a different place. I could go to maybe somewhere closer to here, like I could go to like Fort Lewis, Washington, or some other like base, some other Army posts where I could go to a unit that would deploy, so I could have a better experience. But they told me, like, if you re-enlist, you're just going to stay here in the same place. And I just like couldn't stand that place by that point. It just sucked. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to get out. So,
I mean, considering that, like, can you just tell me a little bit about like what you did day to day?
It's so different. Like, it's so unpredictable. Like, you never know what's going to be happening. Like, sometimes you'll have events scheduled. You'll have training events where you'll like go out to a range, and you'll shoot like M4, or you'll shoot like 240, which is like a type of machine gun. We do training with like mortars, like, you know what those are? Yeah, like we do training with those. But other times we would just sit around and do nothing. You have to do stupid stuff on the computer, like you do paperwork. We did a lot of vehicle maintenance because we were like a mechanized unit. We were in these like armored vehicles. They're called like Strikers. It's not like a tank, but it's just like a different armored vehicle. And we drive those around. That was okay, like driving those around. It's kind of fun, I guess. And like do a lot of maintenance on those, and just do a ton of like PT, a ton of like physical exercise stuff, because part of your job is to be in good shape. And they'd have like PT competitions, and like I would compete in those, and just random stuff. We'd go out to the field. We'd pack all this stuff up and get in our vehicles, and we go out to like some remote training area. It's like the middle of nowhere, basically. And we'd have to stay out there for like a week straight. Just like, kind of like you're back in basic, like except not as like intense, like you're just sleeping outside, you just get rained on. It's like freezing cold because it'll be in the winter, and you do training out there. And after a week, you just get back. I don't know, sometimes it's like for 2 weeks, which is way too long. Just stay out there, like, I don't know, like that gets like old after a while, but it'd be fun when we got back from that. It's like, yes, I can take a shower again, and I can sleep, like indoors. So
did you make friends through this time period that you were all together?
Yes. I've like been fortunate in the past to have really good friends, and a lot of the people in the Army, like, I just didn't like at all. They're just like total douchebags. Like, people there just kind of like, they're just dicks for no reason. They're just total idiots, and like they're just like intolerable to be around, like a lot of people there. But some people there I really did like, and I feel like I got so lucky having in my platoon, which is like the group you like work in mainly. It's like normally it's bigger, but our group was like 15 guys or something, and all of those people, well, almost all of them, I liked a lot, and like 4 of them I was just like super good friends with, because like you get to know people so well because you do everything together. You know, you work with them, you live with them because you live in the same place that you work, and you're just around them constantly, so you get to know people really well. And I had such good friends there, people that I still keep in contact with. Unfortunately, they're spread out all over the place. You know, one of my friends is in like Texas, one of my friends is in Kentucky, and one of my friends is in Oregon, but I still keep in contact with them. So that was definitely a positive thing to come out of that experience.
Were you ever injured during your whole time in the military?
Yeah, I was. I had a really bad shoulder injury. Unfortunately, I don't have a badass story to go with it. You know, like I got shot or something, or like I got blown up in Afghanistan. I wish I had some cool story like that, but I really don't, because I had like a really pathetic service. But I was working out at the gym and I was doing bench press, and I just like tore tendons in my shoulder really badly, and I was like not able to get like medical care for it, because the medical care there, you have to get like referred to it. And like we had this one like medic that was in charge of us that just denied people care and like accused them of faking injuries, and like just the worst person on earth basically. So I couldn't get care for it, so it never healed, and then I tore it again, and I ended up having to have surgery on it, so that was pretty bad. I've actually had surgery on both of my shoulders. So.
And the surgery was done while you were in the military?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that treatment? Like, how was your experience with that?
It's good. Like, once you get referred to like the hospital, like on Fort Hood, the care there is really good. It's just they'll try to prevent people from going there. And they'll try to deal with it just at the unit, like where you work. And a lot of times that doesn't work. So it's really hard to be able to go to the hospital. But once you go there, the care is really it's really good. So yeah, it was good. My shoulder never healed all the way. I still have problems with it. I still have chronic pain from it, but overall, like the care I had there was good. I had like physical therapy and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, I had like bad stomach problems when I was in there too. I don't know if it was like from stress or something. I had like really bad stomach pain too. So yeah, that made it hard. It's hard too when you like have to do all this physical stuff all the time. You have to, you know, like carry really heavy stuff for like long distances, and so that makes it hard when you're injured. But I had somewhat of a recovery from those things.
All right, great. So let's move on to your discharge now. So, like, when did you find out, and you know, what did you think when you found out you were being when your discharge was coming?
I was looking forward to it because I was just like tired of that place by then. Like, just the town around Fort Hood is just it's just a terrible place. Like compared to here. Like here is just so nice. Like compared to there, it's just like this. It's just super ghetto and like depressing. And the unit was just like, a lot of my friends had gotten transferred different places, so that made it worse. And some of our unit went on some stupid deployment to like Egypt, to like the Sinai Peninsula, which like I wanted no part of, because I knew they would do nothing over there, which is just what they did. So there weren't that many people there at the time, and so I was excited, but it was really, really hard to like get out because there's all this like, it's just a bureaucratic nightmare. There's like all these places you have to go, all this paperwork you have to bring to all these different places, try and like turn all this gear in and go through all these like, you know, like tests and medical exams and just one thing after the next. So that was really hard to do. That takes like months and months to even get all that stuff done so you can get out. But I was glad to get out. I was glad to move on. You know, if I would have been able to like deploy, if I wouldn't have been able to go and actually do my job outside of just like garrison, then I would have been more excited to stay in. But it was just boring, so I was ready to leave.
And then once you were discharged, where did you go back home, like to California?
Yeah, I went back home to my parents' house, and by then I had the plan to like come back here, but I missed the deadline to be able to go like that fall. I got out in like the fall of 2014. So I had to wait. So I was just basically at my parents' house, like not really doing much.
And how did that go? Like how were your parents with you coming back home and the military?
Oh man, it didn't really go that well actually. It was fine at first, but after a while I just I started to get like depressed again, and I wasn't really doing that much. Just kind of like sit around and like hang out with friends sometimes, like go to the gym. And it was just tough to go through that transition of like being in the Army and coming back and just being kind of like, I felt kind of stuck again. So yeah, that was difficult. And then I don't know, like my relationship with my parents like wasn't that good. And I like started doing drugs again, and so yeah, that wasn't that great, but I ended up getting better. You know, I had to have some kind of like, you know, like counseling and stuff and like treatment, but I ended up getting better so I could actually go here, which is probably good because I needed that time to kind of get myself in like mental shape to be able to go to school again, because I wasn't sure if I could succeed at school because I thought I failed pretty badly last time. So
all right. And you talked a little bit about sort of readjustment to civilian life. Did you want to speak a little more to that? Like, I mean, how was it like just getting out of the military to being back?
I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just such a radically different environment. I can't really speak for everyone, but for me, I just, I don't know. I just kind of felt totally out of place, and I wasn't sure what to do. I felt like I was like starting over, and I didn't know what to do in the meantime. Between like when I could go to school. So that made it worse that I was just sitting around, wasn't doing much. I don't know, I didn't really want to get a job. Like I was thinking of trying to get a job, but I just like didn't really want to. And then yeah, I had like issues with like pain because like my shoulder, I had like stomach issues, and just like the mental issues that I had, that made it worse. That made the adjustment harder. But I'm not sure what specifically made it so difficult. It's just going to a totally different environment and having to just get used to being there and come up with a new plan for what you're going to do for your life and how you're going to make a living.
And how are your friends? Like, how did they react to you? coming back, and were they accepting?
That was
what you did.
That was the other thing that was depressing, was that a lot of my friends had moved away while I was in the Army. So one of my best friends had moved down south, to LA or San Diego or somewhere. Then I had another friend who was on the East Coast, and the ones that were still there in Sacramento, it was good. I was really glad to see them. It was cool to be able to hang out with them more, because before I could only hang out with them a couple weeks at a time when I was on leave, and then I have to go back. So that was cool, but I also kind of started hanging out with someone who wasn't a good influence on me. So I kind of got into the wrong crowd, I guess. Kind of the same kind of people that I hung out with after high school, before I joined. So that kind of got me in trouble. But I don't know. I had some friends that were helpful and supportive and a good influence. So
thinking about your whole sort of military experience, what impact do you think it had on your life?
It had a huge impact. I think it kind of helped me grow up a little bit. Even though I was pretty old when I went in, I don't think I had that much mental maturity. I was just kind of I don't know. I was just kind of a knucklehead. I just did stupid stuff, but it helped me grow up, and I saw that with my other friends who were in the Army with me. I saw them change a lot, and I saw them grow up a lot, in the 3 years that we were in there together, and I think it did give me more discipline. It made me more focused on being successful in something else, because I had confidence, after going through basic training, because that was the hardest thing I did in the Army, physically anyways. So I kind of wanted to repeat that success that I had back then with something else. So but I'm fortunate I was able to discover, that kind of passion that I had for history, and fortunate to have the benefits of the GI Bill that allowed me to go back to school here. And I don't know, I still have doubts about, succeeding, especially after graduation here. But I don't think I would have been able to do as well as I have here, before the Army. I don't think there's any way. So.
All right, and you had mentioned you were going to East Bay before you enlisted.
Yeah.
And so when you got out, were you definitely planning on coming back into East Bay, or did you look around at other places, or why do you think you wanted to come back?
I looked around at a couple different places, but I applied places as backups, but this is always where I wanted to go, because I really like this school a lot. I always have. Even when I wasn't doing well here, I still loved the school.
Did you have any contact with the Veterans Affairs office here before coming? Either in your previous time here or when you came back?
Just when I came back, this recent time, when I came back, it was fall 2015, I guess. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when I came back here, then that's when I started going to the Veterans Affairs. and they've been helpful to me.
How have they been helpful?
Helping me, like, with signing up for classes and just like counseling me, showing me how to take advantage of like the GI Bill and continue receiving benefits for that, and planning out like what I'm going to do. I actually need to go back there because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do right now. So, but yeah, they've helped me out in a lot of different ways.
Are you in contact with any other student veterans on campus?
No, I don't know anyone else who's a veteran here.
Okay.
There's probably some events like I should have gone to, but I'm not very good with social events. So.
And do you feel like overall, and you can talk about specifics here, do you feel like the campus has supported you as a student veteran?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Like just with, do you want to give me examples? Or can you think of examples?
Just mainly through the Veterans Affairs office, and I'll get like emails for stuff like events that you can go to, and it seems like it's really easy to get what I need here. Just like it gives me an advantage, like of just being a veteran and being here. Like signing up for classes, it's like a really big thing. And I don't know, I don't think there's any time when I felt like I wasn't, like able to get what I needed here, like since I came back.
Okay.
I've had like a good experience overall.
Okay, great. Do your fellow classmates know you're a veteran? And if they do they chat with you about it?
Most people don't, because I don't really like to bring it up, because like I said before, I'm not really that proud of what I did, so I don't normally bring it up. People usually find out when I'll like answer like a question like in class, like I have in I probably have in your classes, when I'll like mention something from like my Army days, but I don't really like to share it that much, and I don't think most people know. I had one professor that like would talk to me about it in class, so like the whole class knew then. She was like asking me questions about it in class, but that's not typical. So I mean, I'm totally okay with people not knowing. I don't really want to advertise it. So.
Okay, and then now that we're coming to the end of the interview, is there anything else you want to mention that you can think of?
No, I don't think so. Before, just maybe just like I said, I'm really glad I came back here. And I don't know if I'm like a good student or whatever, but I'm just like way more successful than I was here before, or at other schools, because I went to community college and I went to that Sonoma State place, which I hated that school. I actually got kicked out of that school like for like partying. They actually, not only did they kick me out of the housing, they kicked me out of the school. So that's just ridiculous. Like that would never happen here. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just really like going here, and that's why I want to like stay here. Like I don't even want to graduate and go somewhere else. Like I want to stay at the school. The only thing I was like disappointed about was that I couldn't get on campus housing, and
Why is that?
They like gave it away to someone else, because I don't know, I didn't do some thing online where you have to confirm your housing within a 10-minute window, or some crazy new rule they added. So my housing went to someone else, so that kind of sucked, but I got a place nearby, so that's good. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I'm trying to go to, if I can, a graduate program here. So yeah, I don't really want to move, but yeah, I always like the school.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for that.